Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Ag View Pitch. Today you have Shay, Foulk, and Andy Hruby on the Sunday Market Outlook. Andy, what are you up to in Indiana today?
We're taking advantage of some decent weather to get some planting done. May's been a pretty slow pace. We had a phenomenal April and just really planted a lot of ground that was in good conditions then, but May's been a little bit of a struggle. So we're able to get in the fields and get some stuff done. And we've also started first cutting alfalfa and spring ryegrass and stuff like that. So we're chopping steadily in between rainstorms and trying to get planting wrapped up. How
Sounds
about
like
you?
that's keeping you busy. I'm also doing first cutting alfalfa, but I'm doing the I-State thing. We're done planting and spraying, so I'm mowing waterways and
Okay.
got some alfalfa here. So hopefully people that aren't in the I-States can laugh at that. I'm not at the beach, but I am mowing waterways because apparently that's the most important thing to be doing here on Saturday. But no, things are looking good. Here in northern and western Illinois, we're dry. We were doing some scouting here 2 days ago, and you have moisture probably 2 inches down, but you're searching for it. So I'm really hoping that this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rains hit us. An inch or two would be great. You guys are probably hoping to stay dry though to get wrapped up, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Let's trade forecasts for the week, and I'll give you some rain, and I'll take some sun and nice weather. So I
Sounds
think
great.
in a lot of farms in this area would appreciate that.
And that's kind of a point that you and I had made here before we started recording is a lot of people have so much going on right now. We had the reports come out last week. There's a lot going on back and forth with tariff talks and things like that. I thought maybe just a farmer-focused conversation between you and I might be good. From a market outlook, it's an interesting time of year as people are getting wrapped up on planting, and we're maybe not paying attention as much as the rest of the world is, or the funds or market outlook perspective. What are farmers kind of feeling in your area? Is there a lot of grain that's moving, or how are things out your way? What's kind of the sentiment that you feel right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of as you look around the area, the farms that are set up to logistically move grain and handle all the spring tasks at the same time, they're still steadily moving grain. There's a fair amount that have shifted into just spring work mode. It's really unique. I mean, you don't have to go 15 miles east of us in Ohio and there is hardly anything done. Or if you go to the north into Michigan or to the west, there's a lot of guys that are wrapped up. And even as you move south down to that Fort Wayne area, it can be pretty spotty from what we've seen driving around and talking to some other farmers. So I think when you say what's the farmer's perspective of what do they pay attention to, what do they think, and I think it really depends on, are you in that circle that hasn't done anything, or are you in the circle that got done in April and everything's up and you're thinking about side dressing or nicely side dressing? And it's really just been I would say a roller coaster of emotions depending on who you talk to in this area.
Mm-hmm. One thing you said there, I think, is something that people probably should be paying attention to. I've actually noticed it in our area as well, with most guys getting wrapped up or done and in a pretty good spot with spraying. There's a lot of grain moving, and we actually got filled up at our Cargill and ADM locations here on the Illinois River on Thursday, so they didn't take grain Friday and not here Saturday either, which makes sense. But, if they're getting filled up and the river's at a decent level, there's still barge traffic moving, but there has been somewhat of a basis push here locally on old crop. We've been moving a lot of soybeans. I'm not sure how much corn is left in the countryside around here. I think a lot of it is at the co-ops or at the ethanol facilities, but I've been noticing how much grain has been moving. And so if you're in that position, either you're not planting because wet conditions, or you're sitting and waiting here for a few days, it might be worth kind of revisiting your marketing plan. We had talked maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago about, do you have a solid marketing plan in place as we head into the summer months. And typically this time of year, Andy, a lot of people have an outlook on planting conditions, and then they're also looking ahead into summer forecasts. And historically, this May, June, early July timeframe might be a good price set from a seasonal outlook, but I'm not sure we're seeing a lot of the indicators here that we would in a year with maybe a bit more hiccups nationally due to the overall planting pace. And am I off base there because of my regionality, or do you think that seasonals are kind of out the window right now?
Yeah, I would agree completely. That's kind of what I've thought for the last few weeks here was usually this is the time where I gear up and you start getting some orders in place. They're paying really close attention to it to have a plan to capture some of that. And it's like, man, this is just kind of fizzled out. It's you kind of get excited or you look forward to the opportunity to take advantage of the marketing side of it too. But then the other side's like, well, if there wasn't that opportunity because there was no delays as a broad span U.S. speaking, it's like, well, it sure made for a pretty easy spring for a lot of producers. I know that's not everybody, but so it's emotionally it's tough. It's like, well, I really wanted some marketing opportunities, but I sure did enjoy the ease of spring. Back to your comment about filling up in your area, I think that's really interesting because if there was a basis push for these elevators to want to fill up now, and I think kind of the general chatter is how much grain is really still sitting in the farmer's hands. It really makes me wonder what this basis situation is going to look like in 3 or 4 months. Is if those elevators are full in May, is that going to be enough to carry them through, or in late July, August, are they going to be scrambling for some and farmers are cleaning bins out now? It's going to be an interesting thing to see unfold.
I think August is the right time frame there for you to set out, and my opinion has been that it's the elevators and the grain buyers looking to hedge against good summer conditions or poor summer conditions, one way or another, but they're looking to hedge against what's going to happen over the next few months, and being able to take that risk off the table without some sort of a drastic increase in commodity prices, I think is probably a pretty smart move on their end. And if you're sitting here with any amount of old crop really, and you can get a basis push or you have some time to do some deliveries and get cash into the account for the year, might not be a bad idea. Andy, I guess I'd ask you a bit of a personal question, but from your marketing plan as you look at 24 into 25, do you have much left on old crop, or how are you kind of thinking about that in your operation?
Yeah, we still have old crop to deliver, but everything has been priced. So it's just a matter of going through the motions of logistically delivering it at this point.
Yeah, we're in the same position. We have some soybeans left to price yet, just as a condition of our seed business, but had walked away from corn a long time ago. We're pretty heavily sold on 2025 here. From your marketing plan outlook, how are you feeling about where you're paired up now against what either a normal marketing year looks like or the marketing plan that you have in place for the 2025-2026 season?
Yeah, I think when I look at my 25-26 marketing plan, I know I'm behind where I normally would be, and a lot of that was because I just didn't get any orders filled on any spring planting delay, rally things that we were just talking about. None of those hit, so that put me a little bit behind. I'm not too concerned about it. I always feel like at some point between now and the 1st of August, we get some sort of opportunity. It may not be exactly what we were looking for, but since those orders didn't hit, I think you just kind of like, all right, let's recalibrate, and do we need to think about adjusting those? Do we still stick to those numbers, or what do we really want to accomplish as we move into the growing season?
And I think now is the time to do it. In your personal opinion, do you think you readjust some of those target orders? Do you just look at percentages, or do you just say, hey, do we need to set newer, lower target orders, I guess?
Well, I keep the percentages the same because I think that's important too, is we've talked about it before, but don't sell bushels, sell percentages, or else before you know it, you sell a lot of 5,000 bushel increments and have a ton left over come January or February. But I don't know if no, I'm not going to adjust my orders yet. I'm going to give it probably 2 to 3 weeks. And if we don't see anything crazy there, then, or any opportunity, then I may back them down a little bit. But I try to kind of stay calm about the marketing and don't get too, emotional or make a lot of drastic, quick decisions. I think you kind of got to stick to your plan, or else you end up in a situation where kind of the tail's wagging the dog.
Mm-hmm. I think the two main things that we've kind of hit on here is if you haven't looked into any delivery options or given your grain merchandiser a call, maybe touch base with them. And then also when you either get a chance to come up for air, if you're done, or if you're sitting waiting on the other side of the coin, maybe take a look at your marketing plan, evaluate how are you feeling about things, what's your local area look like, because I would also argue that, if you continue to have these delays, and maybe it's a bit normal regionally, into Ohio, I know that can be a bit of a wild card, but you start looking into this week ahead, and they're talking anywhere from 1 to 2 inches this week, and over the next 14 days, I think it was the Euro model had 3 to 4 inches across the Corn Belt. That's going to hurt prices because you have that fast planting pace paired with good growing conditions early on, good rainfall. Maybe there's a basis look later on for those areas that had a delayed planting, but man, we could see some pretty drastic changes here over the next 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's like we said, that there always seems to be something every year, good or bad, but it's we're kind of falling into that window of what's it going to be.
Yep. Well, Andy, I think we're going to keep it pretty short and sweet today. Anything else on your mind on the Sunday market outlook as we look into this third week of May here?
No, I think it's just kind of recap what we talked about, is just make sure everybody's evaluating their plan and keep juggling that ball of grain marketing, grain movement, things like that. It's pretty easy to push it off to the side when we get busy with spring work and planting and spraying and all that. It's an important piece, and there's some pretty unique and good opportunities if you can kind of keep that ball juggling in the air.
And I guess I would offer, we're not market experts, we're not market analysts, we're farmers just like all of you guys listening. We just happen to see a broader base of clients that we work with and get to talk to a lot of great people here, through the podcast and other connections. But if you're listening to this and you got some unique marketing questions for what you got going on in your farm operation, feel free to reach out to me. Andy, I actually got a new phone number coming off a deployment. So for everyone listening, my new phone number is 309-264-3090. You can give me a call. Like I said, I'm out here mowing waterways, so I got nothing better to do. Andy's way busier than I am, but we're always here to have those conversations, I guess is what I would say.
Yep, for sure. That's don't hesitate to reach out.
Alrighty, Andy, thanks for the time. Good luck there, and hope you guys get wrapped up this week.
Thank you. You too.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Ag View Pitch. We will catch you next time.